everyone, and welcome to my podcast, Today is Not Tomorrow. Welcome to another TINT chat. Here with me, I have two fantastic ladies. Hello, Naima.
Hello.
Hi, Zuley.
Hi.
So, this is actually a conversation we'll be continuing because during our week at school, I got into a discussion about the prospects of people who take humanities and whether or not we think they will have secure jobs in the workplace in the future, what our views are. So, first things first, I kind of want to establish what you girls both do in terms of subjects. Zuley, what do you take?
So I take English literature, psychology and Spanish.
Okay. And Naima, what do you take?
Maths, physics and chemistry.
So we can clearly see what sides you're both going to be on. Let me throw it out there then. Do you think that in 100 years' time, someone who studies, let's say, English or another artistic humanity subject will have a job in these next few years?
Well, in my opinion, I don't want to go, it depends on the extent. I do believe that in 20 years' time, I don't believe that everything is going to be laid out and everyone's going to lose their job. But I believe that in a century or so, it's going to decrease and the surplus population of people doing science subjects would definitely increase. Let's say, for example, robots to manually do things that English literature, geography students would do already.
What about you, Zuley?
I agree. I kind of think that in the future we will need more researchers and people who will try and develop humanity as much as possible. And I think I don't agree with it as much, but I think that the focus of, even right now, everyone encourages everyone to go into engineering and become a scientist and discover the cure for cancer and things like that. It's quite big issues right now. I think that this will continue and even prevail more because people will have more viruses to battle. People will have more issues, especially with robots. AI already exists. It's not even a matter of maybe a century, might even closer. And I think that subjects like English, for example, they do lead to more creative careers, which I think might be silenced in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, if we look at history of perhaps even dictators, you will see that they do like to silence what they don't like.
Yes.
And I think in the future, when we start developing these ideas and sort of very set norms about how we should live our lives, maybe the rich and poor will be more divided. I feel like people who will try and battle these norms will be silenced.
Saying this, bearing this in mind, are you worried that you've taken the subjects you've taken? Does it ever occur that I'm doing something I love, but if you were to live for those next 100 years, or when this were the case and that robots and AI were to take over, you wouldn't have a particular base?
Exactly. I think even in going into a career such as becoming a lawyer, which I do want to do, it's like if we have these people, if we have these AI machines who will do everything for us, they will have more knowledge and intellect than we do. So where's the need for reading? Where's the need for understanding more about the law when we've just got these people who are programmed to know everything? It's like Google in a brain.
Yeah. But however, I would say that robots don't have any empathy or any sympathy. So that's something that's going to lack in the near future. So I do believe that I actually kind of disregard some things like people that study English literature. I do believe that in the future time that it's not going to be decreased as much because robots are not programmed to feel anything but to do a certain thing. So I do believe that could juxtapose.
I think giving the 100-year cap is us being very generous. I think it's obviously going to take a lot more time.
Yeah.
However, with the developments of what we've got now, don't you think that robots will at some point be able to conceptualize what emotion is and fulfill that?
But I don't think they have any. But sometimes it's not about the hormones. You can add hormones in it. There's different types of hormones like adrenaline you can add for fly and fight. But at the same time, you actually need to experience the things to almost like enhance the emotions. Does that make sense in the future time?
I get what you mean, but if we're going back to Zuley saying she wants to be a lawyer, doesn't a role of a lawyer mean you have to be unbiased and not have that level of emotion?
Exactly.
That's true.
Is there a need for emotion? There's been so many like things where it's like, do you actually need to feel, or feelings just a distraction? They make you make the wrong decisions. Maybe we don't even need feelings. Maybe that's where humanity is leading us.
We've just changed
big
everything.
questions.
In philosophy, I think the philosopher Kant, that's what we've been talking about, and one of his main concepts is that you should follow his rules, which are that all lives are equal, and he focuses on the autonomy of humans. One of his main focuses is that emotions shouldn't be a part of the equation, that these should all be executed without emotion. in our day-to-day lives, how much do you think your emotion affects what you go on to do?
I'm going to bring religion context in. So, you know how you were talking about how people shouldn't, it's emotions based on our consequences in life. Well, if you think about it, if you're more religious, it makes you, it's almost as a test. Without these emotions, you're not able to test from a perspective of a religious person. But if you were not religious, you would obviously disagree with me. But if you were religious, you would understand that these emotions are almost tests, and robots are definitely not the way to go with it. Even though it is really efficient, we still need humanities in our lives. We still need these emotions to obviously fulfill our justice to God.
I understand that, but I feel as if we're not going to ask a robot to be a child's mother and adopt a child and look after them and have motherly feelings. We're thinking of specifically... It was like, okay. We're thinking specifically of in the workforce. And although it does go beyond the workforce, focusing on this just for now, what extent will the jobs of these people be secure? I get what you're saying, Naima, but I feel as though focusing on the workforce and just the workforce, where does emotion come in? Think of a job that you actually really need emotion for.
Doctors, they need emotions. Imagine a robot doctor has to pick between a plug and try to advise the person if they should pull the plug. God forbid. But
why is that an emotional decision? As a doctor, that shouldn't be an emotional
decision. It shouldn't be emotional, no. But how, when the person is thinking about whether to pull the plug, they are in a state of distress, and they're just basically mentally collapsed. But I think a doctor's perspective would a little bit help it, even though, I don't know, but people assume that doctors are really knowledgeable about everything, so a little bit of a doctor's help would make them feel a little bit better. But if it was a robot, it would just it's just money.
I think what's interesting is that the more traditional view of this is perhaps that by having emotions, you're more biased to sympathise with people, and that is your flaw, and that could be the human flaw. And I think that the fact that we might be going into this in the future is quite ironic, because it's such a traditional idea. And I think leading back to the equality idea of a philosopher, it's almost as if with feelings comes needs and desires, and with desires comes the idea that someone is above the other. Your needs are above theirs. And when you link it to perhaps medicine and things like that, I feel like as a doctor, of course, I feel like emotions make it more difficult as a doctor's life, because that is I feel like I know a lot of cases where doctors say how their lives are very difficult, especially lawyers as well. It's the lives of people are in your hands. You either support them or you save them or kill them. It's a very hard job. But there's also the idea of morality, and maybe that could be the flaw that we have. Maybe the only moral way is just to think who's the better one to save, who is the one that deserves the life, who is the one that will take care of what we do to them and not make the same mistakes again.
But then back to that, whose choice to choose whether the person lives or dies? Is it our choice?
It's not our responsibility. If we go to the Mad Axeman scenario, you have a man coming to your door and they've got an axe. Theoretically, they're going to kill you no matter what. That's his intention. He knocks on your door and you've got an axe, and you open the door and you have a friend somewhere in the house. Your friend came over earlier and he's in the house, and the Mad Axeman asks you, is there anybody else in this house? We take it upon ourselves, or at least during this discussion, to say that we're going to lie to protect our friend. By lying, you are not valuing the Mad Axeman, number one. And number two, by lying, nobody said it's your responsibility to save your friend. Nobody said it's down to you to do your best to protect your friend. So with morale, we come to a standstill where we believe we know what morality is, but we don't follow through with it as much as we want to. I might do something and everyone believes it's the right thing to do. In this example, most people would say that, lying to save your friend is the right thing to do, but it's not, because you've lied. So when do we draw that line?
And you link that to human instinct. It's our instinct to protect ourselves before anyone else. It's like, are we becoming more flawed as a human race, that we are putting people before ourselves when it is really us that we should be focusing on? And maybe a lack of emotion, maybe a lack of feeling, maybe the degeneration of that is actually a positive outcome of humans. It's weird for us because it's such a huge change. Every day we think, we feel, we're children, we grow up with feelings. That's how we grow as a people. But maybe that is our weakness. Maybe we don't need to feel to become the best of ourselves.
You know the example you said about the axe? I think the fact that the reason why people won't see as people see as moral, because the generosity that you didn't basically tell that the friend was there outweighs the lying. Does that make sense? The lying is basically
Is lying nothing? Is lying not bad?
nothing. But think of it as a percentage. In my head, I'm thinking the lying, that outweigh of the lying is like 5%, and the generosity is like 95%.
It's such a mathematical way of thinking about it. You're such a subject.
But yeah, that's how I think of it.
Yeah.
And I really see it so much outweighing the generosity. It's just
I want to take away the statistics for a moment.
take that away.
Okay, let's think of the best way to kind of imagine this. We have a red pot.
Mhm.
If you add a little bit of blue to it, the whole thing turns blue. If you add a little bit of purple to it, the whole thing turns purple. Let's take the lie as the purple colour. If we add even a little bit, the whole thing turns purple. So think of 100%, you've lied a little bit, you've lied, end of. Because now the new colour of paint is purple. You're saying that you add that little bit of purple and you're only going to see 2% of purple in that big pot. No, you've added a bit of a lie, you have lied, end of.
But that's one of the things that humans won't feel. It's at the bottom of their mind. It's the fact that they've done something so good and virtuous that the lying's at the back of their mind. It's just a normal human instinct.
But why is it good?
But okay, you got me there.
It's religion again.
Religion. I was going to relate it back to that, but I don't really.
To mention, Kant also doesn't believe in consequences, and unfortunately, in society, if I were to be late at school, I get detention.
Yeah.
There are consequences in life, so it's quite difficult to say, let's bring his views into our society and into this century, and the way we live, they wouldn't be compatible, because it's not the way that we live.
I guess that lying that I said that was good would be dealt with by an external force. In this case, would be God. So I guess like you said, the things you do have consequences, and I guess the lying would be the consequences of God's punishment or whatever He would do to basically yourself. So I guess humans don't consider that the fact that they have done something wrong, but they always focus on stuff that they've done good. Like, if someone feels happy, they wouldn't question why they're happy, and if someone feels sad, they would question it. It's like that, and I don't know whether I'm waffling, but
There's a question between what's more important, your intention or your consequence. So it's the same with the example of a man, he robs a bank, but he commits a crime, obviously, but the consequence is that he actually gives the money to an orphanage. What is more important? What is more significant? Is it his intention to save children's lives, or is it robbing a bank, which is a crime? And there's also the idea of linking that to free will. It's like, do we actually have free will? I believe we do. It's just we have consequences that and you have to deal with.
Exactly.
So maybe in the future, people will have a lack of free will because everyone will simply just stay in line and stay in borders because they will not want to touch the circumstances because they get worse.
free will in this country is very messy because you have free will, but let's say you say something towards the Queen or the government or the higher power. You would basically get arrested. Is that really free will?
Yes, but you know the consequence. The consequences don't limit your free will; they limit your choice. So it's like your free will. You can do whatever you want. You just know that they will have consequences because of society. You can go to an island right now where there is no government, and you can kill someone, and no one will do anything to you. It's the restriction.
Don't kill anyone, please.
Disclaimer. No, don't do this at home. It's the idea of a government that try to control you, and that's why we have these murderers and psychopaths and people who kill and do this and commit crimes. They are the people who extend and
they push the limit of free will.
Exactly, but because we do have free will, it's just you know that if you don't go into school today, you'll probably get a letter sent home. Your parents, something happens, your parents go to jail, you get fined. Does that limit your free will? Because you still can do it afterwards. There's nothing that restricts you unless your hands are completely tied behind your back and you can't move. Your free will is endless, I think.
This is why I love Zuley. Zuley likes to analyse and overanalyse and get right to the point. And honestly, I think I agree with you. I just don't like it being called free will, if I'm being completely honest, because that's falsely giving it a meaning that it doesn't have. It's false hope.
And like a democracy. A democracy is an elusive idea. It's something that we have created to think that we have power, to think that we have free will, but do we really? Because if we did, then we would be up there with the government, with the Prime Minister, with the Queen, but we are not. Somehow they are the immortals among us. It's quite a strange concept. That is the capitalism in it.
I've got a quick question, Naima, because exactly as Zuley's saying, all these people in power, linking it back to what we were talking about before, would you appreciate that they make these decisions down to emotions? For example, our lockdown is being breached for Christmas. Don't you think that's an emotional decision? Because the scientific route to solving a decrease in cases and deaths of the coronavirus would be to say we are remaining in lockdown. We
Whether
want
you
to
like it or not.
Exactly, we're putting your health up there first. This is an emotional decision that Christmas is. Well, it's an economic gain for our government for sure, and also a time for families to come together and to get presents and to be around your loved ones. That to me shouts emotion.
I think it was 100%. Okay, maths. Sorry again. Is you cannot say that he has made a decision of any scientific knowledge because if he really, because you can compare it to the times where people were celebrating Diwali or Eid or let's say Ramadan, and he really thought his scientific knowledge right there, like he was thinking, but he only did that is because he was assuming that it was no importance to him. But when it comes to an importance to him, suddenly no scientific knowledge just goes through his mind. It's all about emotions. I need Christmas. I need to see my children. It's all about him and basically everyone being Christian. But there are other factors. There's people that are Muslim that, in fact, they're nearly roughly the same Christian as Muslim.
Yeah.
So I don't believe, like even as a Christian country for centuries and centuries, I don't believe that it should be, uplifted because of, I don't know, one festival that is,
Zuleykha, what did you want
I
to
have
say?
a crazy idea, and it's that you can, if you analyze as deep as I did, you can find a link between emotion. Because as we said, that emotion is basically your needs and your desires. That is basically what you want. But without emotion, how can one vote for what's best for them? And how would that be a democracy? So if we can eliminate the idea, if we just imagine if we were replaced by robot minds, and instead we had no feelings, no emotions, all we cared about was work and doing, the thing we are programmed to do, then how does that connect to democracy? How are we going to vote for someone in power and say that is who I want in power because that is who's going to benefit me most and who's going to make me rich or do this or do that? So in the future, if we're thinking about this, how maybe there will be no more democracy. Maybe it will just be a communist society where there will be one person in power who deals with everything and everyone, and we just have to deal with it because we don't even find anything against it. It's not like there's going to be any rebellions. The world will be more peaceful. So is this the way to go?
Is this the way to go?
But then you can say that it's repeating history again because
Is it because they'll be peaceful? Because it won't be rebellion. No one's going to think otherwise. We're all going to be programmed to think the same thing.
what if basically the leader was basically another Joseph Stalin?
I was thinking about Animal Farm, and I was just hoping that we don't ever go through such in this period of time.
I don't believe in communism. I really don't, because people that work day and night would get the same amount as someone who doesn't work at all. I don't believe in that.
Communism is fascism. I see it because it's the same thing.
But I believe in socialism.
Yes.
I like capitalism. I like capitalism. I do. I
freedom of speech.
I do.
No,
I do
freedom,
prefer capitalism. I think with socialism, it's very idealistic. It's very utopian.
Yeah.
But I think as a human race, we will always be unhappy with everything. We always blame I hate this new culture that we all have as a young generation to just blame the government for everything that happens. Politics is not pretty.
Yeah.
You understand? So it's like you can say things. You can say I don't agree with what has happened, but you cannot blame every single decision made in your society on the main person who unfortunately cannot control everyone. Maybe fortunately, maybe unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so I think capitalism is quite a successful system of obviously
at the moment, I think because we haven't found anything better.
Yeah,
There are things that are better that we know we could carry out, but there are billions of people on this earth and it has to satisfy everyone, and unfortunately we just can't do that.
Will it ever satisfy everyone? There's always an idea.
Exactly.
So will socialism satisfy everyone? The top people will not like socialism. And yes, we might see them as very kind of bad, evil, they don't want to share their money, but maybe we become them one day. And when you become that person, you will eventually think, I want what's better for myself, and there's nothing wrong with you wanting that. You cannot be judged as a bad person for not caring about other people when you want to be the best and the top and the richest.
To an extent, Zuleykha, I'll say.
Yeah,
because it's like saying, we see Bill and Melinda Gates right now. They are rich beyond belief. If they were to never ever give a single dime to charity, I would question it.
Yes.
And I would question them as people.
Yeah.
Because if you have the ability, which unfortunately in this day and age is power and money, to help people less fortunate than you, to not do it it doesn't make any sense.
One thing I would say about charity is that some of them don't believe in it, and it sounds so bad because I've seen charities that don't even get half of the income that they were meant to get, and that's why I need some comfort. I basically need some sense of knowledge. Like
You need to know where the money's going to, what it's being done, everything else.
Exactly, and I just
do we have a right to that? Do we have a right to know everything?
Do we have a right to know? So we're being left on a cliffhanger here.
Yes.
Thanks, Zuli. It was so lovely having you both here.
Yeah, it was very lively.
This was so nice. I like it. The conversation is powerful, it's heated, and it's a sense of natural and organic, what we do talk about. I hope you've all learned a little bit of something and seen these two girls' fiery personalities brought to life. We hope to see you for our next episode of Today is Not Tomorrow. Bye, girls.
Thank you.